and James Taylor. Just a little dichotomy there. But it was Jack Calmes and Rusty Bruchet and Jack Maxim were the owners at that point, or those were the people I dealt with. Rusty was our front of house mixer with James Taylor when we were on the road, and a lot of the early stuff we did, I think we were working out of Calmes' garage.
Yes,
and he had a platform on the roof of his house where he would go up and meditate. And I think it was when he was married to Morgan Fairchild.
That's right. Point. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So we'd get over there and he'd be sitting up, in his position on top of his house. These guys, I mean, it was like guerrilla warfare in those days, because there was really no companies that were really dedicating themselves to that part of the industry. And we were lucky enough, so it was those guys. I mean, we were on the road with Doc Gans and Rance Caldwell and Jim Bornhorst and all these guys. At one point, they had these monitors boxes that they would use like for the front of house and stuff, that were these big plywood boxes that they fiberglass that had these covers that slipped over them, and they built me one for my equipment on stage.
Oh, wow.
And Jim Bornhorst did that. And I remember sitting with Jim one day, and he was talking about, and I think he was who came up with Very Lights, and he was telling me, I got this idea for some lights, and suddenly he changed the world.
Yeah.
And that was all part of the Showco family. And I mean, it was one of those periods that was so much fun because everybody was learning as we went along, and to be with Showco, watching the development of their stuff with show lights. I remember at one point we were just hanging lights, and then all of a sudden they came out with these boxes that had like these hydraulics in them, and the lights came out of those, and we would set those on stage. And to have watched those guys evolve throughout the years, developing their equipment, their sound systems, and their lighting systems. And we used them all the time. I worked with James Taylor. We were with Showco. Okay. And I think with Linda Ronstadt, we were with Showco. Jackson Brown, we were probably with Showco. They were pretty much the industry standard at that time. And we would come, and the thing that was cool was like when we would rehearse with James, we would come to Dallas and we rehearsed at McFarland Auditorium. And at that time it was close to their headquarters, so we could experiment with gear during the course of our rehearsal period. They'd bring something over new for us to try out and say, oh, check this out for the tour. So it was this kind of an interesting community that evolved. It wasn't like, oh, we've hired this company, they're doing that. We knew everybody. We'd go to, if we played Dallas, we'd go to Rusty's house, and he would do a barbecue for everybody. I mean, it was really like a family vibe with Showco, and to me that was, it put it on a whole other level than almost any other company out there. I mean, it was a fabulous relationship, and then as years went on, because I started with Phil, I started touring with Phil Collins in '84. We met in '81, and he wanted me to work with him then, but I was already committed to James Taylor tour at that point. So I started with him when we did the No Jacket Required album. And then when we hit the road, I mean, there's all the cats, I mean, it's like, looking at the Monitor people, everybody was Showco.
So you were there, the development of Very Lights with Genesis and Phil when all of that came
it was a remarkable change of this industry, because everybody prior to that was sitting there cutting gels and putting them, manually doing all of that. And to suddenly have these things working their magic like that was really remarkable. And so it was just, they were one of those companies that wasn't like resting on their laurels. They were always pushing, coming up with new gear and new ideas. And some of it was great, and some of it they went, no, we're going to blow that one off. We got some other ideas for the next tour and all that. So I worked with them up till, they folded shop or consolidated. Yes. I loved Showco. I mean, it was just like one of those things, like I said, it was like family, knowing all those people personally and their families.
And we're still all a family.
Yeah.
We get together and...
I still talk to Doc, and he writes to me, and he fills me in what Rance is up to, and we did a gig, it might have been on Phil's tour in 2003, I think, when we came through Jim Bornhorst came to the show, and Rusty came.
Doc lives not far from us.
Oh, great.
So we're in the same neighborhood.
Yeah, that's great.
We see him often.
Oh, that's great. But everybody it was just a bunch of knuckleheads. And we had so much fun together. But they were just consummate professionals. Everybody had fun together and stuff. But when the show came on, boom, everybody did their jobs.
Yeah.
And
they always did their best.
Yeah.
And kept, yes.
Yeah, I was thrilled when I knew I was doing a tour with them.
Right.
Oh.
Andy Moore.
Oh God, Andy's one of the first people that signed my bass.